Well, good afternoon, and thank you very much for joining us again. And we will be just taking a little tour around the beauty of Bath. I'm sure many of you have been to Bath, and some of it will look very familiar. So hopefully, it'll serve as a good reminder of just all of the fabulous things that your clients can get up to. So I will just share the screen with you. There we go. Um, Now the wonder of Bath is that it's beautifully positioned down there in the south of the Cotswolds. So as we'll look at later, there are all sorts of places that you can go to, or your clients can go to from Bath. And the other fabulous thing about Bath, I know it feels a little bit early to be talking about Christmas, but we know that obviously clients will be planning Christmas trips, particularly if they haven't been able to go away in the first half of the year. And the Christmas markets at Bath are just beautiful. It's a really magical place to be, and I will happily share some video footage that we took when we went to the Bath Christmas markets last year. Well, it was what, 5 months or so ago, but it's absolutely beautiful. There's an awful lot to do and there's a lot to cover, but rest assured we can get your clients access and private and exclusive access to the very best of it. So we just thought we'd start off with a little snippet of video, courtesy of our friends at Visit Bath, who do a fabulous job of sharing the best of it. One of the best ways of getting to Bath actually is by train. Funnily enough, it's a superb train route, and the clients can happily sit and enjoy a nice lunch and a glass of champagne in the hour that it takes to get there. And I can't resist, when talking about Bath, I can't resist quoting Jane Austen fairly frequently. I'm a huge Jane Austen fan, and obviously there are lots of stories, but we'll come on more to that. Bath is known, I think, quite aptly as an intimate London. It's a small city. You can get pretty much everywhere on foot at a nice leisurely pace, and yet it has, as you can see, over 500 bars, restaurants, coffee shops, and the like. So whenever your feet are getting a little weary and your clients are in need of a little refreshment, they won't have to look too far to find somewhere lovely to rest for a few minutes. And Bath really has been, all the way through the ages, and Jane Austen has certainly shared this with us, has been designed for pleasure and relaxation with the beautiful baths and so on. There's something almost quite sleepy, and wonderfully, there's a wonderful slow pace of life. People who live in Bath might not agree, but those of us who are lucky just to visit it certainly can feel it. So I've just highlighted five of the real highlights within Bath, and then five places that your clients can easily get to if they're staying in Bath. No great surprise, obviously, the Roman baths and the more modern Thermae Bath Spa has to feature. I think to go to Bath for the first time and not go to the Roman baths would be a slightly extraordinary thing to do. But there are a number of ways of visiting the baths, and some really beautiful private tours. So your clients can either wander around at leisure, or we'll create a lovely tour for them. The Bath Abbey that featured in that video, and you'll see it again in the Christmas videos. Bath Abbey is absolutely stunning, and again, just wandering around the outside before you even pootle inside is quite magical. And amazingly, actually, in December they were installing underfloor heating, So if your clients do want to go and sit and spend a bit longer in there, then they're going to be nice and toasty, which is a bit of a benefit and rather lovely. The number one museum at the end of the Royal Crescent is a fabulous example of life upstairs and downstairs. So your clients can immerse themselves in a little bit of the history and understand what how families lived back in the day. And the Herschel Museum is just an utter joy and must see destination for anybody who is interested in astronomy. And apparently, Herschel, I have to admit to not being the biggest expert on this, but apparently he was the one who discovered that Uranus was a planet and not a star. So there you go. And I think the wonderful thing about Bath is because it's not very large, and everything is quite compact, and most of the hotels are fairly central. It's just a wonderful opportunity to do a little bit of a walking tour. Now, our guides who are based down in Bath I mean, they're just absolutely fabulous. And they know and love every nook and cranny of that beautiful city. So um, we really do recommend even a half day, a whole day of just wandering around the city, because the sort of beautiful honey orange colour of the architecture, and there are so many wonderful little hidden wonders that a simple walking tour can make it really special, and you feel like you've understood a little bit more about it. Now, there is a huge amount to do and see in the surrounding areas. And I know from discussions I've been having with various people over the last couple of weeks that I think we're very aware that certainly in the short term, clients are going to be looking for maybe non-city centre based experiences, that they want to go exploring and going seeing things, but maybe want something a bit more in the open air. So you can't get much more open air than Stonehenge, and a fabulous visit there. I'm not going to talk a lot about Stonehenge because we are visiting there on Monday with the fabulous David, who will share all sorts of wonderful stories with you. Equally with at Longleat and the incredible safari park, private tours around Longleat House are a real treat, and we will be sharing that with you as well. Highgrove is Prince Charles' country home, and it's absolutely beautiful and set in stunning grounds. And Prince Charles is very famous for his love of all things green. So the gardens at Highgrove are quite incredible. I'm very lucky actually. My family lives in a town about 2 or 3 miles away from Highgrove. And before Prince Charles bought the house, my parents are quite pleased to say they were there first. Before he bought the house, the grounds were lovely, but had been left really to grow quite wildly. Whereas now they really are quite magical. And also the fabulous cafe there serves a rather good quintessentially English afternoon tea. So that's wonderful. And the Arboretum at Weston, which was planted by Lord Holford. Well, I imagine his gardeners did it with him overseeing it back at the beginning of the in the early 1900s. It's recognised as one of the most respected examples of an arboretum in the world. They have every variety of tree going, I think. And again, the stunning thing, very much like Bath, it's just magnificent at every time of year. So well worth the visit. And for your clients who just love their British history, Leacock is a bit of a must-see destination. It's one of the few villages that is actually owned and controlled by the National Trust. And you just wander through Leacock and travel back in time. It's featured in in Pride and Prejudice, in Harry Potter, and all sorts of things. So it'll be very familiar, but it's just beautiful travelling back to that pace of life. And Tetbury, which I mentioned earlier, is near to Highgrove, is apparently has more antique shops in one small market town than anywhere else in the world. So if you have clients who are perhaps, I mean, we've done a couple of fabulous antique tours of Tetbury for clients who are doing up their homes and want to find a few treasures. I mean, the choice is quite extraordinary, and we have a really fabulous expert who will really be able to direct your clients to the types of antiques that they want to see. And Tetbury is another just beautiful, really old market town, with all of the tea shops and the lovely places to go. And they have a bizarre tradition on the second bank holiday in May, so at the end of the month, called the Woolsack races, because it was a traditional wool town, and there is a really, really steep hill, and these people have to run up and down the hill with a massive wool sack on their back. I personally have never done it, and I don't intend to, but it's great entertainment, and the whole town goes out to see it. Um, Now, Jane Austen, you can't talk about Bath without talking about Jane Austen. It's just wonderful. And we've included a real Jane Austen fest for some clients who love all of their literary history. I mean, they've done sort of Stratford and all of the rest of it, which is wonderful. Now, at the moment, the Jane Austen Festival in September is still very much going ahead. And if the news today is accurate, then in September it will be happening, and it's extraordinary. Everybody walking around the city dressed up in Jane Austen gear. They have a masked ball. They have all sorts of events over a 10-day period. So if you love Jane Austen, it really is a wonderful place to be. And equally, the Jane Austen Centre has been created by people who just are passionate about Pride and Prejudice and Emma and Northanger Abbey and all of those other wonderful books that she created. And the private experiences there are superb. Your clients can have private access and be guided and entertained by experts who are all in Jane Austen gear and really take them through the experience. So it's wonderful. And again, as I said about a walking tour, doing a good old Jane Austen walking tour of Bath is really rather magical. So they do bring it alive, and they make the most of their association with Jane Austen. I mean, she only lived there for 6 years, but there are certainly a lot of scenes in her books that are set there. So I guess they've got a lot to be grateful for, which is just wonderful. So just some of the beautiful images of Bath. It's quite an extraordinary city, and they really do protect and preserve the very best bits, which make it all the good for us. And here's a little view of Longleat, which is just wonderful. So well worth visiting. Now, the Christmas markets, they go on run for 3 weeks, and oh, it's absolutely wonderful. You just if you haven't been, the stalls are set out in just sort of small groups all around the city, so you can amble at leisure and stop and look and buy things, or stop and have a quick drink. There's lots of mulled wine and some lovely traditional food and so on sale. And one of the really beautiful areas you'll see in the video in a minute is all based around the square next to the Abbey. And the day we were there, it was beautiful blue skies, and then it gradually gets dark and all the lights come on, and it's if you love Christmas. Lisa's a particularly passionate advocate of everything to do with Christmas. So if you want anything to do with Christmas, talk to Lisa because she loves it. Um, and we also, they do this lovely thing that you can just pop in for half an hour and sing carols in the Abbey, which is just a lovely thing to do in between shopping and wandering around. So they really do it very well indeed, and it's quite lovely. And you can see some of the stalls and the decorations and so on, and they're all in these beautiful little huts, which are just wonderful. So here's some of what we were looking at, and the Abbey in the beautiful winter sunshine. It was pretty chilly, but it was an absolutely beautiful day. Quite an amazing building. And obviously, just for the purposes of research, I had to try a little bit of mulled wine while I was there, just to guarantee to you that it's well worth stopping for and well worth trying. And he was very happy to be filmed and enjoyed his part. Bless him. So it was just great. This is courtesy of Visit Bath, who do a great job. So location-wise, it's about an hour and a half from London. As I said, a train journey is wonderfully easy. There are some really beautiful hotels, very centrally positioned. The Royal Crescent, the Gainsborough Bath Spa, and so on, and a rather fabulous recent addition, which and it's positioned. It's about half an hour away, just into Somerset. Is a rather beautiful new hotel. If you haven't come across it, called the Newt. Slightly intriguing name, but the hotel is absolutely stunning. Similar lines to Heckfield, so they've done an amazing job. And if you head north from Bath, you're going into the beautiful Cotswolds, Cirencester, and up into the North Cotswolds, and all of those beautiful areas. Heading south into Devon and Cornwall. Bristol is right on the doorstep, and it's only about half an hour or so from Highclere. So nicely centrally located for whatever your clients choose to do. Now, giving you a rough idea of an itinerary was a little bit difficult because there's so much to do. But as you know, we will create your client's itinerary based on what they want to do. But this will give you a feel. But they really can cram a huge amount in because everything is so close by, which is just wonderful. And again, a guide of pricing for you just based on some of the simple sort of tours, a lovely afternoon tea. Oh yes, and I didn't mention, apologies, there's a rather wonderful gin distillery where your clients can go and make their own cocktails, and then obviously it would be rude not to sit and sample them too. But they're incredibly creative, these guys, and our clients who've done it have had a wonderful time. So it's something to look forward to if they've been wandering around for the day. You can see more of our Humphreys TV at Bath on YouTube and on the website. And Bath features a lot in our postings and so on because it's such a beautiful place. So I hope that has been either a good reminder of the wonders of Bath or a good introduction if you haven't been there before. And please do let me know if you've got any questions. No, I think I've either shared absolutely everything there is to know, or you're having a think about the best bits. But I think for as I say, for your clients who are planning anything maybe early autumn into later in the year. Bath is a fabulous thing to include on the itinerary because it's just lovely at all times of year.
We have had a
So,
question,
oh,
Sam, about
yeah.
what is our recommended length of time to see everything.
Ah, good call. I think if to include the main elements inside and outside Bath, I'd probably recommend 3 days, maybe 2 nights, 3 days there, to get out of Bath and go to Longleat and Stourhead and so on is just lovely, and then to move up to the North Cotswolds. But I think Bath deserves about 3 days, I think. But you can still do a lot in one day if they haven't got the time.
And another question from Jackie about how long the Christmas markets run for. I have been for the last 3 years running. It's one of my favourite places to go every Christmas time. So they start at the end of November and they run until sort of the mid December, just before sort of Christmas week. But they are hugely popular and very busy. So if you've got any clients that you think might want to go, or you're having conversations with them already, I would recommend sort of trying to sort accommodation sooner rather than later, because the whole city gets so busy during that time. I hope that answered your questions.
Yeah, they run for about 3 weeks, don't they, in total, I think. Is there anything else? No, we've obviously answered all of your questions. Well, if you do think of anything, please, as we always say, do come back to us. Well, we've had another full week, and we've got another fabulous week planned next week. Hopefully, you've received our schedule of all of our tea and training events the whole of May, and we've got some real treats. So I'm very excited. So on Monday, we are exploring Stonehenge. And Stonehenge, actually, there's a whole lot more to it than just the circle. So, oh, I see that's more questions coming in. All right. And then we've got a real treat on Wednesday. Stoner Park is a beautiful stately home about 5 miles away outside of Henley. And the Stoner family have lived in that house for 850 years. It's quite extraordinary. And William Stoner, the current inhabitant, Lord of the Manor, is going to join us on Wednesday. He does the most wonderful tours of his house. He's hugely hospitable. And we'll have a chat about the lovely things that you can do in the grounds, and even enjoy a lovely lunch, afternoon tea, or dinner in one of their beautiful dining rooms. So really delighted that William's joining us on Wednesday. So just to say, keep well, keep safe, and have a wonderful weekend. And I'll look forward to seeing you next week. And thanks so much for joining us. Bye bye.